Years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in to what is day 3 of SEC Football Media Days. We are at the Grand Hyatt in downtown Nashville. Yes, it is a little bit of a circus, but it's also a lot of fun to see and hear all the various things that are going on with the teams. It's kind of the unofficial start of football season, and in our business, that is always a good thing. Today was the big man, Nick Saban, on campus. And as you can imagine, it was wild. When we walked in here, all these Alabama fans who travel here that you sometimes want to say, do you have a job? What do you do for a living? Why are you here? Just to say you saw him?
There was a good 25, 30 people when I walked in right at the front.
They've all got stuff to have signed.
There was one guy with a big Alabama sledgehammer it was foam, but I see that guy every year at SEC Media Day.
I heard one guy, there's Plaster. Well, hello. Yes, that's me. Okay. As has been the case, these guys have done a really good job in the first 2 days of giving you some notes on things that maybe we would discuss that day. Then again, maybe we might not. There's so much to get into. Let's check in first with Butch Spyridon, and then we'll check in with the hostage, Jack Gold, and find out where he is today. Billy, from the look of it, he may have improved his location.
I think he did. Stay tuned.
So, Butch, tell us about your site, what you found, and all that kind of jazz.
Yes, sir, George. So I was actually one of the many tired reporters there early this morning to see Nick Saban speak. And I took 3 major takeaways. We'll get to the third one, which is more of a humorous point. But for the first 2, Alabama has the struggle of putting together 2 brand new coordinators, both their offensive and defensive coordinators left from last year. And Nick Saban spoke very highly of both of them. For Alabama fans, Kevin Steele is not a stranger. Nick Saban said he was very confident in him back in the late early 2010s or late 2000s when he was first the defensive coordinator, and now he is back in that same role. And then on offense, a very different very different coach, Tommy Rees. Nick Saban said, he loves the young offensive coordinators, very energetic. The players are really connecting with him on a personal level. And he said that's the most important thing when it comes to these new coordinators is building those relationships and having those connections so to really hit the ground running when the season starts. The second main takeaway I would say is Saban's notes on the transfer portal. Saban said that at his time in Alabama, they're always committed to bringing in high-quality high school players, but the transfer portal has allowed him to look at specific needs for that season and then fill those holes through the transfer portal with experienced players from other schools. And the third point, which is once again the humorous point, Nick Saban compared his quarterback room to his grandma's oven. When he was a child, he kept wanting to see when the cakes would be ready, what the grandma was making. And so later on, when they get to media questions, the moderator says, okay, we have time for one more down in the second row on your right, Nick. So Saban looks at him and he simply asks, Coach Saban, going back to your metaphor in your opening statement, what's your favorite cake that your grandmother made you? And so everyone just kind of bursts out laughing. And George, I'll leave it for the 3 o'clock hour right after stat of the day in our second update. But I want you and Kelly to think about what do you think Coach Saban's favorite cake was when he was a child waiting for his grandma to make them?
Oh, I love it, Butch. Let's check in with Jack Gold, who is in another part of the Grand Hyatt. So you look less like a hostage today. What's the deal?
It's against my own will. My spot was snatched. Somebody found out about how good I was at finding spots and took it from me. So I had to move on somewhere else.
It's an American tragedy, no question.
Yes.
So this is the first time you saw one of these Nick Saban deals at SEC Football Media Days. What did you take out of it?
I was more concerned. He said, nobody's really separated themselves at the quarterback position, and it's a 3-team race. It's between Ty Simpson, who's a redshirt freshman, who they've seen nothing from, really. Jalen Milroe, a redshirt sophomore, he was the one who started for Bryce Young in one game when Young was injured, who is a really dynamic runner and probably has the highest ceiling of any of the options. But Bama last year had 16 turnovers as an offense in the whole year, and Milroe had 5 of those, and he only started one game. And then they brought in Tyler Buckner, a Notre Dame transfer, midseason, who was the starter last year for Notre Dame the first 2 games, and he got hurt. In those first 2 games, he had 378 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then he got hurt, came back for postseason, and played in the bowl game, and he had 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So there's not any sure things, and nobody separated themselves, and that could be a concern.
Okay, let me go back. Good report on your end. Let me go back to Butch. Butch, what else stands out today for you?
Yeah, so actually after Coach Saban and then Coach Pittman this morning, there was a little kind of secret SEC network announcement. There weren't a lot of reporters in on it, but they announced a couple of different things, a new season of the show Deep South, their new intro for SEC football. But at the very end, they had a little bit of breaking news. ESPN Films is going to be having a documentary released this November about Brandon Burlsworth in the 1998 Arkansas Razorbacks. If the name Brandon Burlsworth doesn't ring a bell, you might also know the Burlsworth Award, which goes to the best walk-on for that given season. Brandon Burlsworth was an offensive lineman who was a walk-on, earned a scholarship and a starting position. I believe was also the captain of that 1998 Arkansas Razorback team, but he unfortunately passed away after he was drafted in the first round by the Indianapolis Colts. So that'll also be something to keep your eye out on. I know me personally, I'll be looking for it. The name of the documentary is called Redemption. I know they've also made a movie about Brandon Burlsworth and his journey in Arkansas. So I would say that kind of a sneaky under the radar move by the SEC. I don't know why they wouldn't have picked a time where more reporters would be in the room. It was kind of during the lunch break for most people, and I thought it was some pretty interesting news.
And by the way, let me go back to Jack. Jack, tonight they will unveil a special on former Vanderbilt athletic director and later, of course, SEC Commissioner Roy Kramer.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of take us. Y'all have done great stuff. End this on a high.
And this on a high. The high is that my Kentucky Wildcats are up next, and we'll get real encouraged after the 7-5 season they had last year.
Wasn't that exciting, George?
Well, now let's get Kelly's reaction to that one. Kelly, you always seem to have some kind words for Jack. What do you got for him?
It's the most exciting part of your day, Jack, man. I feel for you, brother.
Well, I I had to eat banana pudding for lunch, like I told Kelly.
I mean, you could tell Jack's mind was thinking, dude. He's had sugar for lunch. He just had banana pudding because he missed the third day of I would say something about those hot dogs. I'm not going to say it on air, but he missed his third day of like eating 4 hot dogs. So
Gut bomb city.
Yep.
By the way, Jack's father watches this every day, and Kelly, I think he's greatly amused at your repartee with his son.
Well, I'll say this about Butch, man. That was a good deal about Brandon Burlsworth,
Yeah,
because he was drafted when I was an Indianapolis Colt, and I got to witness him before he died, which I could not believe he passed away, man. He was going to be a good football player. He was one of those guys that was tenacious. He worked really hard. He loved being in the weight room, and we didn't really get to know him. I just remember walking down the halls and seeing him practice a little bit, man. It was so bad when we got the news that poor kid had passed away, and he had a bright future. There's no question about that.
As we end this particular notes package, we'll do it again at 3:00. These are 2 young guys that are going to do really well in the media in the future. Jack, Butch, both of you owe me $1 for that. See you later.
Yeah.
Hi, George.
You know, I've always wondered if anybody will ever say, okay, I'll give you the $1.
That's one of your better lines.
So do we have an update?
We do.
Yeah.
We've got an update, and we start with Northwestern.
Right.
I mean, there's something on Northwestern every day. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump said his law firm and other attorneys have received reports of hazing within the athletic program, impacting not only the football team, but also the baseball and softball teams.
I have always thought that hazing in softball gets very serious.
Also, Chicago attorney Steve Levin said they have not filed a lawsuit yet on behalf of any athletes, but they plan to do so shortly. So that's coming.
Yes.
They represent 15 people and have been in touch with dozens of former athletes. One former athlete, Warren Miles Long, former running back at Northwestern, said players were put into a culture where sexual violence and hazing was rampant. So it doesn't seem like it's getting any better.
Oh, no, and it's not going to for a while.
Mm-mm. So there's the latest on Northwestern. Back up to the NFL. I think you guys might get a kick out of this. It was a about it, but 3 Pro Bowlers who were franchise tagged, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, and Tony Pollard, failed to receive long-term second NFL contracts from their teams ahead of the deadline. That means all 3 of them will play this season on only $10 million. Fully guaranteed 1-year deal without the long-term security of a multi-year deal. And Derrick Henry tweeted something, I think it was yesterday.
Yes, he did.
Very upset about this. And, you know,
Kelly, what's the answer short of the next time the players and the owners go at it in collective bargaining, that ownership is forced to treat running backs better?
I don't know, George. It's really it's kind of it's the way the game has gone. I was thinking about Tony Barnhart yesterday, talking about Herschel Walker back in the day, and when he was in that game, that he was a freshman, and they let him in that game, and they won the game. Where they were losing, they said we need him, but Vince Dooley didn't know if he was ready yet. So it's just amazing how the game has changed. Where it used to be the Walter Paytons of the world, the Jim Browns of the world, the Gale Sayers, the Emmitt Smiths, all those guys, and now it's totally changed. And I can understand what Derrick Henry's talking about. I saw that tweet yesterday, and he was like, "Why don't we just take the running back position out of the game?" And I'm kind of with him, because that's an important piece of the puzzle. And Saquon Barkley, if you want to really get down to it, he's more than just a running back. That's what you want in a running back. He's more than a guy that just you give the ball to on first and second down. He helps them on third down. And if you see Daniel Jones' numbers with Saquon Barkley and without Saquon Barkley, you understand the reason why these guys are so upset. So I don't know what they'll do about that. I don't know if they can do anything. I'm sure that'll be discussed. But Christian McCaffrey came out talking about it, the most explosive guy on your team, and just because he's a running back, you're not going to pay him. And if you look at and I always bring Bill Belichick up because he's obviously innovative in the things that he does, but he never thought too highly of running backs. They would have one each and every year, and it's kind of amazing how the game's changed, George, when you got a Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is really a good player, and Saquon Barkley is an unbelievable talent, and it's just sad that they're not getting the deals now. Sad when you say these guys are going to get paid $10 million a year. Where else can you make $10 million a year? It's kind of crazy, but I understand where they're coming from because just think about this, George and Billy. These guys go out on the franchise tag this year and make $10.1 million and then have a season injury, ending injury or a career-ending injury, and it never comes to fruition. So that's where these guys get upset, and that's where people need to understand that these guys get upset.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley was also upset about it. He said he's got leverage. His leverage is he could say F you to the Giants. He said, I could say F you to my teammates and basically not play. So,
wow.
There's some
the Giants on this one, it's called penny wise, pound foolish. This is dumb on the Giants end. I don't know about the other two, but I know where the Giants are with Saquon Barkley, the toilet.
This is Saquon Barkley, too. It's not like we're talking about some second or third running back. I mean, this is one of the better running backs in the league. So we'll see what happens there. Also, George, according to court documents today obtained by the New York Post, Tiger Woods' former girlfriend has dropped a $30 million lawsuit against his estate. Erica Herman's dismissal of the lawsuit was filed on June 29th, pending her appeal of a judge's decision that she must abide by a 2017 non-disclosure agreement. How do you even say that word there, George?
Let's see where the
purportedly signed with Woods.
Yeah.
So I don't think that'll mess Woods up too much in his pocket.
No,
I think he's made enough money over the years.
Comment, Kelly.
He's had quite a few problems with some females here lately. So
he has.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. That was the only piece of news I could find after those first two.
Hey, turn the camera over for just a minute, if you can. Yesterday, we had the storm from hell come through here around 3:30. It was wild. Okay, we don't have that today, but Billy, turn it back, if you will, for a second.
George, you can see it. It's behind me.
Okay. Well, actually, you really can't.
What do you want to see?
I want people to. Big old yellow crane. This thing is humongous. So you're actually going to do what I've asked you to do here. Okay. So this is the view outside. Look at that thing. That's a big old crane, Kelly.
George, I'm starting to think you have a Lego set at your house and you build stuff at nighttime. I'm starting to think that what are we? Are you that into cranes, big dog?
Crane. There are a bunch of them. I can see about 8 of them as our city. It's just insane. Anyway, after the break, we're going to learn a lot more about Nick Saban. And let's be honest, we are all fascinated by this man. He has put a legacy together that I don't believe any college coach will ever equal, duplicate, pass in the future. What he's doing is absolutely amazing. One of his former players, Mac Hereford, will join us here at our broadcast site. So stick around. This will be interesting. From the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Nashville, this is the George Plasker Show.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
As a lot of you know, our show is now more than a year old, and that's a great testimony to some of the viewership that we have had from you all. So a big thank you right there. If you're new to all of this and you're wondering, how do we see the show? Here's some of the ways. Of course, You can watch it live 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the three biggest ways are Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, if you're working or can't watch the show live, you know what? All this stuff is archived in podcast form through two different ways. Apple, Spotify, that's the way you do it. You can go Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you're probably sitting there saying, George, you don't know what any of these mean. Well, I'm learning. I can at least spit it out now. Hope that you will continue to enjoy our show, because as football season revs up, we've got some great things planned. Thanks for being with us. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. Okay, truthfully, before we meet Mac in just a second, Billy, on this date in sports history 16 years ago.
I have no clue. I mean, that's a lot of hints there. You gave me a lot of context.
A group of us locally put a rally and a ticket-thon together to save a certain hockey team. Now, I'm pretty damn proud of it. It's one of the coolest things I ever got to do in radio. My thanks to people like Ralph Schultz, who runs the chamber, Butch Spyridon, who is the outgoing head of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the manpower they supplied us to pull that off. It's one of the most satisfying things I've ever done in radio. Don't you ever forget it. So, Mac Hereford joins us here at our broadcast site. Former Alabama Crimson Tider, former Vanderbilt Commodore, transferred to Vandy late in his career.
You don't hear that very often, by the way.
No, you don't.
That duo.
I had a friend that did it the other way, Chris Donnelly, who started at Vandy and then ended up on the 93 national title team at Alabama, where Jay Barker was the quarterback. There's your little history lesson. Mac, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you've made the rounds today, and my guess is I'm going to ask this stuff a little bit different than everybody else has. If people are honest, they are incredibly fascinated by Nick Saban. This guy has put a resume together that I don't believe will ever be equaled. I don't know that we all fully appreciate the level of excellence that this man has shown. And I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit as a former player of his right off the bat. What was the first thing you noticed about him where you said, whoa, this guy's a cut above the norm?
I think it was, I went to the Nick Saban football camps growing up, and that was a lot of fun. And I got to see some taste of Nick Saban, who he is, what he does. But it was when I first got to Alabama that freshman year. I will never forget, we're running stadiums. It's on a Friday, and we're running up the stadiums. It's hot outside. We'd just done other conditioning. We were finishing with these stadiums, and we're running up and down. And there was one guy, I can't remember exactly what player, who it was, is running down and pulls something like in his hamstring or something. And he's holding his hamstring. He's like limping down the stairs. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, holy cow, they're going to let this guy out of here. Excuse my French. And the guy's
you've said it now.
He's like, I'm sitting there and the player's limping. And I remember him being like, I pulled my hamstring. And they're like, we don't care. They're like, we don't care what's going on. You're going to keep doing these stadiums. That was the first time, not necessarily. It was it was one of our strength coaches right next to Coach Saban. And Coach Saban just kind of was like, yeah, got to keep working. But that was the first time I was like, this is real deal Coach Saban. This guy is hurting out here. He doesn't care. He wants him to finish the workout. And there's the whole process that we had my freshman year when I really realized, look, this place is no joke. That players, the whole thing is you're going to get beaten down in Alabama, and you're going to be worked hard. And then after it, I don't know if you'll have much left, but while you're there, you beat the person down and break them down. And then when we get on the field in the game, it becomes easy because we're not going through something like that.
Mac, what is his biggest strength on game day?
I would say his ability, his second half adjustments are always pretty unbelievable. We come out there, and I would say too, another thing, I go on a rant about all the good things he does, but he has an ability to come in there calm, cool, and collected, and whoever we play, no matter if it's, Georgia, no matter if it's Tennessee, a Mercer, a Citadel, whoever it may be, Coach Saban has a way to convince us that team is got some kind of amazing thing about them that we need to be prepared and ready for, and we don't need to underestimate them. So the ability to prepare for these teams, and then during the game, if we're messing up, if something's not going well, and I mentioned one of the teams, Citadel, for example, we come out and we're tied with Citadel at halftime. Coach Saban comes in there, makes the right adjustments, and then we blow them out of the water in the second half. So he's always got a good way of coming back in there, and he'll rip into us. But his just ability to see the game from a different perspective, put the guys in the right place, and manipulate. I would say he's not in a bad way, but a master manipulator in the sense that he knows what to say to Mac. He knows what to say to John, whoever it may be. He knows exactly what to say or to do to get that player to do what he wants them to do.
In his Michigan State days, the general public that paid attention to this kind of stuff, they knew he could coach. They knew there was a pedigree there, that there was a past history with Belichick, and that, he knew how to coach. But there was a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of temper tantrum kind of stuff. How much of that has cooled off at Alabama?
I think a lot. I think my freshman year, look, I've been chewed out by Coach Saban a bunch, whether it was not wearing my knee pads for enough down during practice, the small details, he will take that opportunity and rip into you. But I think over time, I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but it's just, I think he's getting a little bit older. Then you have Miss Terry that we talked about, and he's starting to just cool down a little bit and become more relaxed. Now, I'm not saying Coach Saban, if he ever sees this, I don't want to say he's relaxed in any means, shape,
he would not be thrilled.
Because I don't want those players to have the brunt end of the bad end of the stick. But he just is, over the time, definitely gotten more calm and just more chill with guys. And still is Coach Saban, still very strict on the details and everything like that. But for the most part, definitely since my freshman year to senior year, you could see him just a little bit less each year. And then he jokes around with the guys. That's when you know something's different. Like he'll crack jokes. I remember Garrick Dieter, one of the guys I played at Bowling Green before he played at Alabama, came in, scored a touchdown in his first game in Alabama. Anyone would be excited. Garrick Dieter's up, pointing to the fans, shouting. And I won't repeat exactly what Coach Saban said, but we watched it in the film room. We watched it in the film room, and everybody watches it. It's like, wow, there's a touchdown. And Coach Saban pauses it, and Garrick Dieter's pointing to the fans. He's like, I don't understand this, blank. He's like, why are you pointing at the fans? He said, you didn't have any blanking fans at Bowling Green. And the whole team is sitting there laughing. But he would just say, over time, he would just make more jokes, and he's a funny guy. And that's when I'm starting to see, okay, he has loosened up a little bit.
Eli Gold is a great friend, and he's told me that Saban has a terrific sense of humor if you get to know him. Does he hate dealing with media? Does he enjoy it? Where do you think he is?
I kind of want to say that low key, I think that maybe sometimes he does enjoy it. I know he acts like he hates it, but I almost think it's become a thing that it's like Coach Saban versus the media now, that he kind of just likes just screwing and trolling with the media, you know? I think that he enjoys it a little bit. I don't think he likes the media, but I think he likes the act of just what the responding to the media in certain ways that he does.
Would it be accurate that he expects us to be as buttoned down in what we know or ask him as he is about his business?
Definitely agree. I definitely think so. I think he expects all media to know it just as much as he does, which he knows a lot. So,
Kelly Holcomb's going to join us. I'm going to ask this first and then turn it to Kelly. Quarterbacks are a different deal. You know, you've got, first of all, they've got the weight of the world on them these days because they're more important today than they've ever been. Is he a chew out quarterbacks guy? Is there a different set of rules for quarterbacks? Talk to me about that.
I think that when it comes to quarterbacks, he can be a chew out kind of guy, and it depends on the situation. So we take Mac Jones, for example, who's a buddy of mine. If Mac were to do something that was a mental error or a mental mistake, Coach Saban's going to rip into you. What I mean by that is just somewhat of not being prepared on a play or just making the wrong read. He's going to ask you, he's going to be like, what the hell is this? What are you doing? You know, he's going to be like, what are you seeing over there? And the thing is, he sees things differently because he's on the defensive side of the ball, especially in practice. And the quarterback has got a different view than he does. But I think it's a little bit of mix of both. He likes to he'll yell at those guys just the same. The only difference is when a quarterback's wearing a red jersey in practice, we can't touch the defense can't touch the quarterback. And I will say the defense does get away with touching the quarterback sometimes because Coach Saban's on that defensive side of the ball. I remember Mac Jones getting hit a couple of times after the play, and he was frustrated because as a quarterback, you expect not to get touched in the red jersey. But then, on the other side of things, Coach Saban let the defensive guys sometimes, get those guys a little late after they threw the ball.
I guess I lied. I got one more, and then I'll turn it to Kelly. Because he grew up as a defensive backs coach, is that the group that has it the hardest?
Gosh, I don't want to say one group has it harder than the other because I thought he was hard on just about everybody. But to answer your question 100%, I mean, he's with the defensive backs. It's like he's with the defensive backs constantly during practice. He's with those guys critiquing them. In the defensive back meetings and their individual meetings, he's with them. So those guys see the most of Coach Saban, and Coach Saban is hard on everyone. But if you're around him enough and he loves those guys, he's going to be extremely hard on them. So they definitely get that part of it.
Here's a matchup I would like to have seen. Nick Saban versus Kelly Holcomb, who can be a little bit of a smart aleck, likes to screw with people. Let's bring him in. Kelly, you never dealt with him, though, did you?
No, I've been down at practice a couple of times, but I shook his hand one day. But I've never really had to deal with Coach Saban. I know a lot about him. I will say this: it's really cool to go down there to practice and watch him coaching the DBs. I'm sure Mac will talk about that. I mean, when you go out there, you expect the head coach to be sitting back there and he's kind of policing everything, which he does anyway. But to watch him start coaching the DBs and to show them how to do things, that's really impressive.
Yeah, it's a good point that you mentioned because it's exactly like that. That's what I was kind of trying to say is he's almost like a DB coach and then also a head coach. He's with those guys constantly. When we're talking about just in indie drills, he's making sure they're doing every little thing right. And I always was envious of the way he coached the DBs and some of the defense because if a guy made a mistake, he would grab that guy aside, take him aside, and be like, look, this is what you're doing. And he had a little bit calmer of a voice sometimes toward the DBs because he has that relationship with them. And we'd be able to coach him through those certain things. So that's interesting you mentioned it because he's with the DBs constantly.
Oh, it's a cool thing to see. Now, I'm intrigued. Like when you go to Alabama and you walk in and everybody's nervous because you're a freshman, it's the first day of camp, you're in college football now, and then Nick Saban walks in the door. How intimidating is that?
Intimidating is an
Keeps
understatement.
it clean.
I'll just say this. I'll give a good example of it. Whenever, regardless if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, whatever you were, if we're all in the team meeting room and it's chatting around and maybe there's another coach that comes in there, maybe the strength coach, and I would like to say that we respected every single coach, but there's going to be a little chit chat occasionally. And then when Coach Saban walks in the room, it's like you snap your fingers and it's dead silent. You do not hear a word. And it was very intimidating. I mean, I was still, look, I think it was a cool thing to, you love your coach, but you also fear him. And Coach Saban was really good at instilling that fear in his players because there was not really any person who could say something like he could to anybody and get them to shut up or do what he wanted them to do.
Yeah, well, I can imagine that he would command that respect. My college coach did the same thing. Now, here's kind of an out of the left field question. I don't know if you ever dealt with him, but do you know who Kevin Elko is?
I do know Dr. Elko.
Dr. Elko, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was with the Cleveland Browns, I became really good friends with Kevin. And a lot of times I'll hear Nick Saban and I'll hear him in a press conference, and then I'll text Kevin and I'll say, Did you just talk to Coach Saban? And he was like, I did. And I hear some of the Kevin Elko come out in some of what Coach Saban is speaking of. So did you have some run-ins with Kevin?
We actually, it's funny you say that because he came and spoke to us a bunch. I think out of all the speakers we've had, he was the one Coach Saban brought back the most. And I remember he always, like I said, right when you were saying it, he always used to say this thing at the end of his meeting. I mean, I remember every single Elko speech. It's like, he would say, Alabama's had a great season, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, but you're not done. And then we would say, yet. And then it's like, Alabama people say the story is over, that the dynasty is done. And he's like, but we're not done yet. So he would do that all the time. And Dr. Elko, there's also a thing, hold the rope, that he used to do. So he talked to the team a bunch and was one of Coach Saban's favorite, if not favorite speaker to bring back, and did a really good job. I never had a personal conversation with him, but he was great when he came and spoke to the team.
Yeah, I still talk to Kevin. I still give him a hard time. I hadn't talked to him in a couple of months, but he's a really good guy. So I'm gonna preface this with George. They changed the rules. We have different rules as quarterbacks. You understand that, George? So so you play with some.
Y'all are a bunch of damn prima donnas.
There's no question, and we like the red shirt. And I wish we'd have a red shirt in games so they couldn't touch us, but that's probably not ever going to happen. Now it's gotten close. We've not been able to touch Aaron Rodgers and those guys, but you play with a bunch of pretty good quarterbacks down there, and I don't necessarily want you to compare them. I guess I do, but what makes the Mac Jones different from the Jalen Hurts, different from the Tua Tagovailoa? Just kind of give us a rundown on playing with those guys.
Yeah, so great quarterback room. Start out with Jalen Hurts. I'd like to give people the example that the first year he was in the league, and when the Eagles bought him in, I'm not a sports betting man, but I said, look, I'm going to place money on the Eagles in this game. They were the underdogs just because of the fact that Jalen Hurts has charisma like no other quarterback I've seen before. He has an ability to vocally lead. He doesn't say a ton, but when he says stuff, it's important and it matters. So his ability to just be an all-around athlete and a game player was something that was really special about him. Obviously didn't, at the beginning of his career, wasn't as good of a thrower as we wanted him to, some of the wide receivers wanted him to be, but really worked on that, developed it throughout his time at Alabama. Extremely humble guy. And the whole process of him getting benched and then coming back on was really big for him, I think, growing as a person. And then we go to Tua. Tua was a great leader, did not say much. He's a lefty, so it was a little bit different catching passes from him, had an unbelievable spiral, also had the ability to maneuver and was an athlete back there. And then my final one, Mac Jones. I love Mac Jones, good friend of mine, but it's crazy to see you have that guy who's that classic old school quarterback that everyone just loves. That's Mac Jones. He came in as a freshman. No one thought he would start. I actually did think eventually he would play at Alabama and start and be a great quarterback, but he's got a great arm, not too good on the legs. He's a fast guy, but for some reason when he runs in the pocket, he runs like he like waddles out there. But Mac had an ability to just discipline, and then that, again, to bring players together. And I think at Alabama, that was really important because he had worked so hard, finally gets his opportunity, and then makes the most of it.
I want to do this if you'll stick around. Let me go to a commercial break.
Absolutely.
And then let me throw two or three more things out there. as we go to the break, take a look at that graphic because we are 2 weeks and just a tad bit more away from the Music City Grand Prix. And I've said this throughout the commercial. I've never been to one. I don't know what the excitement is. But here's what I do know. Over these first 2 years it's been in Nashville, I have had any number of people who have come up to me and said, for not knowing what to expect, it was one of the coolest things they had ever experienced in sports. Tickets have been on sale now for more than 2 months. It's pretty simple. Go to musiccitygp.com. It'll start ground floor at general admission and work all the way up to the highest form of amenities that you would want or aspire to. What a word that was. musiccitygp.com to order your tickets. I'll be there in 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to it, and I bet you are too.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at bairdifference.com.
This is day 3 of SEC Football Media Days from the Grand Hyatt downtown in Nashville. Nick Saban spoke to the media earlier today, and I thought this would be the perfect time to get Mac Hereford, who played both at Alabama, later transferred to Vandy, to come on the show and talk to us. I'm going to ask a couple of things. Billy, Kelly, you guys jump in as well. here's just one that, in public and in protocol, I'm happy for Kirby. He's achieving great success, blah, blah, blah. But behind the scenes, even though it's a former assistant of his, does this gall him that Georgia, for the moment, has taken a step above Bama?
Oh, I'm sure it drives him absolutely crazy. It probably drives him mad. I mean, not only losing in general makes Coach Saban go crazy, but the fact that one of his former coaches, who's now a head coach, has found a way to beat him. I bet that's what he's thinking about every night before he goes to bed. It's crazy, that because he's undefeated, I believe, against all of the other SEC coaches, or has a winning record against all the ones that he coached. So definitely drives him crazy, and I know he's going to figure out a way to beat Kirby this year.
Billy, what's your Kirby question?
Well, I know you weren't there when Kirby was at Alabama, but what about Kirby makes him such a good fit at Georgia through his experience at Alabama under Nick Saban? Like, were you surprised as an Alabama guy to see Kirby go to Georgia and have, I don't know about immediate success, but I mean, year 3 and 4, he really started to figure out, and that's credited to Nick Saban and his leadership at Alabama, and Kirby Smart learned under Nick Saban. So just talk about how that impacted Kirby, his time at Alabama.
Yeah, I think when, you see it countless time and time again, you see all these coaches come to Alabama, and then the next thing you know, they're a head coach somewhere. You take Kirby Smart for an example, though. He's on the defensive side of the ball, which Coach Saban loves defense, and he's going to be learning from Coach Saban, getting the best of the best from Coach Saban, but he also has the ability to go somewhere new and take the best things he learned from Alabama, but then also incorporate Kirby, which I think he seems to be such a family man, just, very good at talking to people, a little bit more chill at times than Coach Saban, and a little bit younger. So I feel like he's taken those things and amplified them. And then also, obviously, everything he's taken from Coach Saban, you're seeing happen at Georgia. So he would be successful. And I think that what is crazy is how fast he's gotten that success.
All right. I don't know. Were you at Alabama or Vandy when Alabama came into Nashville and beat Vandy?
Oh, I was at Alabama.
You were at okay. Vanderbilt the week before beat Kansas State.
We had this discussion yesterday off the air.
I think to go 2-0, right? And after the game, there was a comment from a Vanderbilt offensive lineman, probably that he regretted ultimately after Alabama the next week came in, and I mean, it was a bloodbath, right? From the first play of the game.
It started with about 2 minutes left when the players on the field started, "We want Bama."
Yes. So
that wasn't real good.
Take us through that week leading up to that Vanderbilt game in the locker room. You don't have to reveal everything, but I've heard that Saban used that quote.
Saban isn't the only person. So that quote, I feel very bad for that whole situation even happened for that poor guy, because it is not, it did not go away. That week, it was a massive thing. Obviously, we're broadcasting it everywhere. We've got pictures of the guy with the quote underneath it, but it didn't end there. Every year that Vandy comes up, or if we played Vandy, especially that time, in the next couple of years,
even the next year,
that was broadcasted in our weight room, in our training room, in our, wherever we could change, anywhere in the whole entire athletic complex, you're going to see that video playing on repeat the whole time. I was getting a little bit annoyed because I'm hearing it constantly over and over again, this guy's voice. And then there's pictures everywhere. It was something that was just, throughout the week, they used. Coach Saban is incredible at using things as ammunition. So whether that means like a player from another team said, "Hey, like we would like to play Alabama." Yeah, everyone would like to play us. I don't even see that as like a mean thing to say.
Right.
But anything can be. He used that as ammunition. So you can only imagine that something like, "Hey, Alabama, you're next. Like we want Alabama." Oh, we took that, and it's going to be living in the Alabama locker room and weight room for years and years.
The rat poison, as they say. But one more from me. Is it like laughed at, like when he'll bring stuff like that up? I mean, obviously the Vanderbilt situation might have, but other times, does it really? How much does that help? Like
I will say with that situation, there's a couple of laughs. Yeah. I will say a lot of players laugh at it, and people
Seniors
are laughing
only.
at it. People are laughing at it, but in all, it's in the back of our head that he did say that, and so people do get like encouraged and motivated. And when you're asking about those other situations, not many, like that's the one situation where there's laughing, but in a lot of situations it's not laughing. Again, like when we play a small team that is Division I FCS, that like one game a year, if someone on that team says something like, we think we can hang with Alabama, oh, Coach Saban takes that, we use it as ammunition, and it gets player. He knows how to fire us up. He'll be like, these guys literally said this about y'all, and then he'll just, no one's taking it as a joke. We're all pissed off. He's pissed off. And actually on those games, that week, he just uses as fuel the whole entire week to prepare.
Billy, when I was Vandy's announcer in the mid-'90s, we decided it would be a good idea to force LSU to wear purple at home instead of their white. And Jerry DiNardo, who at that point is LSU's coach, says to me after the game, whoever made that decision, tell them thank you. He said, our guys weren't going to be ready, and that pissed them off.
I mean,
I've always
that's
remembered
football,
that.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that players probably do it. I mean, themselves as well. Experienced guys like that. So I'm intrigued. I mean, Nick Saban, is it an every week thing, or
it's every single week?
So this year, he's probably going to be using. Is it Stephen A. or no? It was Paul Feinbaum on First Take.
I
saw you tweeted about that.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't watch it, but
so I don't know if he doesn't use as much. I mean, I guess he'll use that in a certain way, but yes. Anything that is said by the media that could somehow be perceived against Alabama or negative towards Alabama, he uses and explains to us why it's a problem and why we need to fix it. So he uses that rat poison and just turns it into something to fuel us all and drive us. And the whole team gets behind it and rallies behind it.
And most years, Alabama doesn't have a ton of ammunition before the year. Now, other than these last couple years, I think last year was the first year of, okay, they've got ammunition, right? But this season, would you agree this is the most ammunition Nick Saban has had before a season dating back to maybe some of his early years?
100%. And I love that you bring that up because it's interesting. The years you would think like where was the ammunition? The years when we're dominating team by team. And the cool thing about it is what Coach Saban would do is he would say it's, I don't know, Wisconsin State or something. We have never played Wisconsin State.
I didn't know there was one. It may well be a prison for all we know.
I don't even know if there's a Wisconsin
You've been
State.
sentenced to Wisconsin State.
But if there was a team like that not a lot of people know, Coach Saban would take those teams in the years that we're dominating, and he would say, look, Wisconsin. He would get up there and he would just list off stats. He'd be like, Wisconsin State, lands first in special teams on, whatever third down negotiate. Like he would say all these things, all these stats that like no one's ever heard, but they would be number one at something, whether it's like kickoff, speed down the kickoff thing or whatever, running down on kickoff. Like he would bring these stats up,
gunner,
and he would be like, you see how good this team is? Like they're amazing. They could be right with us. And we're sitting there and we're like, what? Like what? Like
no, they can't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But again, he knows he was making ammunition those years. And now, like you said, Billy, this year he's got the ammunition. So you best believe that Coach Saban's going to use it and that team's going to be fueled and there's going to be a fire.
How do you think,
Coach? No, they can't.
I lied a lot here. How do you think that Tennessee win affected Saban in that program? I know we always talk about every win is the same, every loss is the same, but I felt it in Saban, a lot of the whole program, and then he got LSU after that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they've had a season quite like last year.
No, it was odd. It made me feel, I was like, what the heck is going on? I was confused because we're almost numb to winning because we're expected to win day in and day out. And then this year we had those two losses. I think he does a really good job. I think it probably stings Coach Saban that, I lost to Tennessee or I lost to LSU, but he does a really good job of talking to us, the players on the team. And whenever we had a loss, of making it sound like, we lost and this sucks. Like we made a lot of mistakes and this is on us. That was the thing he always did, which I'm sure this year he said LSU lost and Tennessee lost were on us completely. He always takes credit and responsibility, and we do as a team as well. And I know they upset him a lot, but he never really says those intentionally, personally really affected him. He hides that from us, I think.
Kelly, you get the final question. Make it the best question of your life.
Mac, is there any way that you can set up maybe a picnic with George and Billy to have with Coach Saban at some point? Is there any way of that?
That's maybe the hardest question to answer out here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go another direction. You were in a you're in a pretty good position room, and you had some pretty good guys there. Which one of the guys helped you? Was it Devontae Smith? Was it which guy? I know you were with I think Jalen Waddle. Were you with him?
Yeah, it was. I mean, off the top of my head, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, all these other people.
Yeah.
Too bad they weren't
Calvin
any
Ridley,
good.
Cam Sims,
Good Lord.
Henry Ruggs, whoever it may be. I would say that the older guys when I was younger had the most impact on me, whether that be Calvin Ridley or Darius Stewart even. Those guys just showing me. I remember I was running sprints one time as a team, and I'm a wide receiver. I'm a big wide receiver. I was like 212 pounds at the time, and I'm running with the skills group, meeting 15 seconds on 110-yard dashes, and I'm dying out there. And I remember putting my hands on my knees for 2 seconds, and I hear our Darius Stewart, and this is, again, I won't repeat what he said, but our Darius Stewart looked at me and said something to me that was like, that got me back up on my feet, and I kept on running. But it was the ability that those guys at Alabama were so good, each and every single one. Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Calvin Ridley, Cam Sims, Darius Stewart. And the thing that impacted me the most was their skill ability with their work ethic. Each and every single one of them worked their tails off and never took a rep off. And that's what I would say impacted me and helped me the most is like, look, I'm trying to be the best I can be. And I'm seeing guys with this unlimited, unbelievable skill level working as hard as they are. Like, I've got to work harder.
Mac, really appreciate
That's
your
awesome.
taking the time to come on and
Thank
be
you so
with us.
much.
Thanks,
I hope
Mac.
you enjoyed it. This was great stuff.
This has been awesome. I appreciate y'all for having me on.
Okay, after the break, first of all, our thanks to Mac Hereford for joining us, former Alabama wide receiver, later transferred to Vandy, and gave us some really good stuff about Nick Saban. Stat of the day is next. Then we'll get another SEC notes package from both Butch and Jack. And then the retired, and I say that loosely, is he retired or is he not? Butch Spyridon from the Convention and Visitors Bureau with some info that you're going to want to hear about what he sees happening that he's been a part of. Stick around.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business. Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business. Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business. Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business. Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports, and then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. Day 3 of SEC Media Days from the Grand Hyatt in Nashville. It's time for Stat of the Day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. Let's see what we've got. We're sticking with the theme of college football. It's Alabama Day here at SEC Media Days. Bear Bryant was the head coach for how many college football teams in his career?
You're talking about as a head coach.
Head coach.
Head coach. Okay, there were 3.
Kentucky, Texas A&M, and Alabama.
Bingo.
Wrong. 4.
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh.
Maryland.
He's best known as
Alabama,
but he also coached at Maryland.
We screwed that up.
Oh, wow. We did. We probably should have thought a little bit and just instead of throwing it out there like that.
I knew it.
Let's get a quick SEC Football Media Day notes package. These guys have done a great job. Butch, let's check in with you. I got to cut it just a little bit, so rumble.
All right, so I want to run through some stuff with Arkansas head coach Sam Pittman, since we didn't quite touch on him at all in his statements earlier, and I'll leave Kentucky up to Jack like he foreshadowed in his first update. But there were some interesting points that Coach Pittman made. First of all, he's the only coach that I've seen so far blame himself for a team's shortcomings last season. He took full responsibility for 4 of Arkansas's losses last year, coming by 9 points, and he blamed his game management and his lack of analytical knowledge, which are 2 points that he said that he was looking to improve this offseason. Arkansas is another school that is replacing both coordinators, and like Alabama, there's one that is not a total stranger. Dan Enos is back to be the offensive coordinator at Arkansas, and now they have also hired Travis Williams, the defensive coordinator of Central Florida last year, and it'll be interesting because Pittman made several comments about how overly aggressive he thought Travis Williams was at times against at Central Florida. And he said that he's going to try to calm down a lot of that aggressiveness, not play as much cover zero full man blitzes as he did at Central Florida. And the last note that I want to make about Arkansas, in their first 5 SEC games, it goes as follows: at LSU, at Texas A&M, at Ole Miss, at home against Alabama, and then on the road again to play Mississippi State. So you're looking at, some of the better teams in the SEC on top of playing 4 of your first 5 on the road. I mean, this path couldn't be tougher for Arkansas, if I'm being honest. I haven't seen a 5-game slate back to back to back like this in a very long time. So yeah, Arkansas is going to have a very interesting season. Very interesting to see how those new coordinators do and how Coach Pittman does as a game manager.
Butch, good stuff, and you raise a good point. Teams can be really good, but if their schedule becomes impossible, what are they going to do? It's hard. Let me go now to Jack Gold, who's in another part of the hotel, back in the hostage room, where apparently he's scarfing down free food while dreaming of his Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, I had to fight off a few people to get in this room. After listening to Mark Stoops, though, Kentucky's been a team that's kind of been predicated on defense for the longest time, and he didn't talk about the defense much. He really focused on the offense. They get Liam Cohen back, who was there 2 years ago, was great, left for what he thought were greener pastures with the LA Rams to be their offensive coordinator, and he saw the direction they were going in and came back. He was awesome when he was there. They're hoping to bring that back. Then they brought in Devin Leary, the NC State transfer, to take over for Will Levis after he got drafted by the Titans. And Stoops said about Leary that he has wowed him at times, not like Levis, where Levis wowed him with arm talent. Leary's wowed him with where he's placing balls. Then they also won in the transfer portal at running back with Billy's guy, Ray Davis from Vanderbilt. When Vanderbilt upset Kentucky, Ray Davis ran for 130 yards, and a reporter made sure to remind him that. And Stoops laughed at that and said that's exactly why they got him. And then they're also returning their whole wide receiver core from last year, led by former Pearl Cone star, Nashville guy, Barryon Brown, who had a really promising freshman year.
So who do they open with?
Some cupcake. I can't remember now.
Well, in honor of that.
This was your plan all along, wasn't
No,
it?
it was not.
Yes, it
but
was.
Go ahead and put this on here.
I think you're slick, huh?
There's a cupcake. No, when he said it, it just hit me. I got a cupcake in
Who
front
is
of me.
everybody's first game?
I don't know. It just
it should be a win. It's their opening win.
Jack, good stuff. We'll do it again tomorrow. Tell everybody in the hostage room we said hello.
I already fought them all off. They're all gone.
We'll free all of you by tomorrow at about 3:30. Butch Spyridon joined us a couple of days ago. Supposedly he's retired, but when you hear this interview, you're going to say to yourself, is he really? For a guy who has announced his retirement, you don't feel like, and you don't look like you've retired.
Well, my tan is a little better. But outside of that, I'm supposed to be in Mississippi, and I'm in Nashville working SEC media. So
yeah,
it's
so
important.
Yes. So you sort of promised this when you announced your retirement, that you were going to do things that you wanted to do and things you didn't want to do, you weren't going to do.
Well, so far so good. Building and strengthening the relationship with the SEC is paramount to our overall success with the new stadium.
They wanted Ray.
So we started working with these guys on media days last March, helping fix this Broadway Bridge issue and some other things. We've elevated it. Our relationship's never been better, and we need these guys for our future, but they're important in their own right, not just for other events, but for their own events, including the basketball tournament. So I'm on a mission to make sure they know Nashville loves them, Nashville wants them, and we'll take virtually anything they want to throw our way.
When Greg Sankey was asked the question about the potential of the SEC title game being here, he appeared to shoot it down and then said something about a book of opportunities. How did you read that?
Well, I'm never surprised when people of significance keep their cards close to their vest. We won't have an opportunity before 2028. There's a lot of runway, a lot of football field between 2023 and 2028. So they're going to get their deal done with Atlanta. They're going to be there for the foreseeable future. I think they know. I'd be more disappointed if they didn't know how interested we were. And we'll keep knocking until they decide they need to listen. And I think we'll get a shot. It won't be a regular occurrence. They love Atlanta. They protect their flank against the ACC by covering that market. But we're going to be attractive at the right point in time. We will ask. It's certainly not a done deal. And he's going to be politically correct, as he always is.
Do you envision this? Is your hope sort of a once every 5 years kind of deal?
I would say, being the persistent, don't take no for an answer kind of person that I am, that we would go for one. Just give us one. 29, 2030, pretty far out. Give us a shot. Get that one in and earn the right to have some sort of once every 5 year relationship. Think about how basketball started. Almost the same way. Russ Simon got us one. And here we are with a 10-year deal.
And then Commissioner Slive kept getting badgered by me. What are you waiting on?
That's right.
That didn't hurt it either, did it?
No, none of that hurts. They know we want it. They're looking around right now and they're seeing, I talked to the commissioner earlier, and we labeled what's going on. This is an erector set that we're hosting this event in. They see the growth in this city. They see the energy, the movement, the progressive nature. It's going to work.
Helen Keller could see the growth in the city. Did you like that one?
I like that. I'm going to steal it.
So as you depart the scene, which is hard for me to even fathom, you and I have spent a few Greek Orthodox church communions when we were in the back of the line whispering about NFL draft going back 15, 18 years ago. Now you hit a home run followed by another home run followed by another home run on that event. Before you left, did you tell them, I want to see this come back?
Yes. And the street party is a perfect example of, we didn't have to do that, but they had an interest in doing something big and different. And we had an interest in delivering that. If nothing else, we put more pressure on Dallas and Atlanta, which I love. They're my friends in those cities. So if I can cost them money, put pressure, but also try to do something that's hard for them to do. This is easy for us to do. I sent a picture this morning to Sankey, Commissioner Sankey. One of the street lights has SEC letters in the street light down by the stage. I just sent that to him this morning. The little details, we're paying attention. We're not mailing it in. They know it. And yeah, they know we want it back. But my objective is, I want them to call us. I don't want to have to ask. I want them to go, when can we come back? And that's always been our MO. That's always been just the objective. It's much easier to do it right the first time and have demand come to you than it is have to reinvent the wheel and resell yourself. Another good example, I think you're aware we submitted a bid for the men's Final Four. So we've got to have a member institution back our bid. Well, my call was Commissioner Sankey. Would you be our host institution? I mean, it didn't take him 2 seconds. He didn't say, "Let me call you back." Yes, we'd be honored. That means a lot. That shows we've moved the needle with them and advanced ourselves.
So the last time we had you on, as your retirement was being announced, before you had the 10-city retirement tour with all the free
I feel like
food.
Elton John or the Eagles. Oh, help me.
By the way, hell of a party. You have said that the Super Bowl is sort of the one last crowning jewel that you want on your resume. Where do you think that is?
I think, and we went and paid a visit to the NFL a few weeks ago just to say, we're ready. What's up? I think they will invite some cities to bid on specific years this fall. So we're waiting on that. So what year might be available. And the thing they've changed is they're not just doing open bids anymore. They're being very strategic in their solicitation. They go, okay, George, we'd like to come to your house for this party. Here's what we need. Can you deliver? And if you come back with the yes, then they're inclined to go, let's do this. So we're waiting on the year, then we're waiting on the specs. If we didn't do anything else, and one of the reasons we went and met, because they were going, we're not ready. Same thing they said with the draft was, we're still a secondary market. So, and our demand has never been stronger. So if they come to us 3 years out, we probably can't do it. We need the lead time and just impressing upon them. We're not trying to pin you down. We're not trying to hog tie you, but we're different. And we've got to raise $50 million. So that's not a 2 or 3 year deal for us. So they know us. I think they love the city. They love what we're doing. But what we need is different than a Dallas or an Atlanta. I think if we didn't accomplish anything else, we got that message loud and clear to those guys.
Do you have a gut feeling of a year in mind?
My guess is 29, 30, maybe 31, right that window.
Butch Spyridon is with us. I have said on the air repeatedly that I think you have done more for this city over the last 30 years than any human being. Feel free to, contribute to whatever. Butch, as you look back on all of this, any regrets at all?
We didn't get that stadium done sooner, so Super Bowl would already be booked. I
don't see how you could.
No, I don't have any.
That's a Butch answer.
There are things, even losing World Cup, knowing what I know today from the cities that were selected, I think it might have been a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
That we were in limbo on the stadium, and that caused us to be cut. We're talking to them about being a training camp site for 1, 2, or 3 teams. I think that could be cool as hell. These countries are here for 90 days. Really good stuff. Or 90 rooms for 30 days. I want to correct myself. We fight hard. We swing for the fence. So I don't like regrets. If we lose, we're going to lose it's somebody else's loss.
Billy, I'll tell you this story before we end this interview. So Butch had provided a ton of the manpower for the day of the rally. And in truth, I had no idea what they had done. I'm over in telethon hell trying to sell season tickets and never really left until around 4:00 when a friend of mine said, you got to see what's going on. Butch had gotten a band. There's thousands of people outside. I've never seen that kind of manpower. You had a heck of a staff to go with what you were doing.
We have had a great staff. They're bigger than ever. You would remember. So I was in this meeting, and I'm going to quote it, but after the meeting, I called you and Ralph Schultz and said, this is real. We got to meet. So I don't know how I was in this room at the Predators. and Craig Leopold comes in the conference room. And he is steam's coming out of his ears. And I've never seen Craig mad the entire time he's on the team. He slams his head on the table, hand on the table. He says, "You F up the sale of my team, and it will be scorched earth." And I think my chin hit the table.
Right.
I know. I was like I wanted to get out of there first because I didn't want to get hurt.
Right.
But that's what told me. As a matter of fact, he said, "No coaches, no players, no nothing. Like there'll be a team,
Scorched earth.
Scorched earth.
It'll be that thing in Major League, the Indians.
Yes, yeah." And so that's when I went, "Damn, it's real."
Yes.
And I walked out of there and I called George and I called Ralph Schultz and went, "We got to do something."
So for the record, as I look into this camera, I am at Turner Field watching batting practice, getting a day of vacation, watching the Braves and the Mets. And I get this phone call from Butch, and he says, "I think Leopold sold the team." One call later, I knew exactly what was going on. Thank you for the tip.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for the assist, the help. What a team effort.
Oh,
It showed what this city can do.
it really did.
I think we sold, 5,000 season tickets that day?
You know, I wish it was that many. It was 726.
So, okay.
But what?
Felt like
Hey,
5,000.
hey,
Maybe it was $5,000.
don't let facts get in the way of a good story. But Butch, you were used to this kind of energy in a room. I had never experienced that before. When we would meet at your office on Fridays, I would go from there to my downtown Kiwanis club, and I would tell people, I don't know how we're going to do it, but there is an energy in this room that you couldn't believe.
Right. You got to fight for what you believe in, and you got to believe you can do it. The first time I came to you when we were bidding on World Cup for 2020, whatever, 2022.
Yeah.
And we did that silly ass watch party in 99-degree heat in Titan Stadium. Everybody was shoved into one corner where there was a piece of shade. But Carl Deaton came. We gave away prizes. We gave away all kinds of crap to get people to show up. But we had a crowd. We watched soccer, and we made the cut. Then the U.S. got screwed, but
yeah,
we made the cut.
Last thing for you. Do you worry at all that when you use the word retirement on you, that it's not going to work?
I think I can make it work. I used last week to test drive myself. As long as I can pick and choose the projects that energize me, that motivate me, that challenge me, and my wife and Nashville agree to let me do that, I can pull it off. If either one of them cuts me off, I'm in trouble.
Well, I have said this before, and I will say it again. It's the truth. I believe Butch Spyridon is the most important Nashvilleian of the last 30 years, and the job he has done just in sports alone in an area where he really wasn't hired for that reason, pretty doggone amazing. After the break, we'll check in on what's going on with the Music City Grand Prix. They're just a little more than 2 weeks away. It's happening. Stay tuned. We're coming back.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. Well, this segment, at least at the beginning, ought to be called Confessions of a Sinner, because in the hustle and bustle of this place, I absolutely could not find Jason Rittenberry's email so that we could get him the link to get him on here. At the 11th hour, Liz Allison bailed me out. I owe her huge again. Jason, welcome. I've never been so happy to see you.
I didn't know it was so difficult to find me.
Oh, listen, it's not your fault at all. It was mine. Have you ever been to SEC football media days?
I have not been to SEC media days. No, I've been to several other major league sporting event media days, but not the SEC.
It is a 3-ring circus. It's a fun one. And the city has done great stuff, as they're going to do for you in a couple of weeks. So you see the at the bottom of the screen, August 4th through the 6th, though a little more than 2 weeks away. What are these last 2 weeks like for you?
Oh, insane. Just, making sure everything's done from an operational standpoint, trying to sell as many tickets as we can to get as many folks in Nashville down to enjoy our 3-day event. And primarily from an ops standpoint, just making sure the course is built along the streets of Nashville. And, we've got tons of temporary structures being built down there, from everything from hospitality tents to suites to hospitality tent areas and 22,000 grandstands. So a lot underway and under construction as we speak.
Jason, I've never undertaken anything quite like what you're doing, but I've always loved putting on big events. Isn't the last 2 weeks the most fun, where the adrenaline kind of kicks in and you're thinking there's no way we're going to get it done? Oh, by the way, we got it done.
Well, there's not really an option to not get it done. So it's got to be done. The cars are going to be here and going to be on track on Friday morning. So it's got to be done. And that what you're saying is absolutely correct, George. It's a ton of adrenaline getting everything done, making sure all the ops teams and all the vendors and everyone working under us are, all on board and all on the same page. And we've got a tremendous operations department that takes this event on and makes it happen.
Jason, we possible. It's got to be yes. And I love that about him. And the more I've been around you in these interviews, you've got that same deal.
Well,
Did you hear that question, Jason?
I did not.
Okay, he was talking about Butch Spyridon.
Yeah, I think both of you have the same kind of attitude. Butch always tells me, no is not in my vocabulary. No is not an option. And the more I'm around you in interviews, you're exactly that same way.
Well, I think you've got to be. Butch has built quite a quite an event, multiple events based on having that same mentality. And I've had to have that my entire career. And, no's not an option and it's got to be done. So we just have to find a way to figure it out, whether that's, working 24/7 in the last 2 weeks or bringing more folks in or more vendors in or whatever it takes to get done. The show must go on. And, it's a reflection on us. It's a reflection on IndyCar, reflection on the city of Nashville. And so, we've got to make sure it's done and done right and meets the fans' expectations around the world.
Before I turn you over to Kelly, you had enough musical options by May to float a battleship, but you've added a couple of things here in the last few weeks. Talk to me about them.
Yeah, it's quite a lineup with all both days. Headline shows on Friday and Saturday night. Friday again with our Freedom Friday concert. Added a few additional artists and actually just confirmed another one this morning. We'll be announcing in the next few days. So huge lineup on Friday night with Brian Kelly, Florida Georgia Line, formerly of Florida Georgia Line, Vince Neil from Motley Crue, Chris Jansen, huge big machine artist, Gavin DeGraw. And then, like I said, we confirmed another one this morning and still have another one to confirm. So adding 2 more artists to that Friday night lineup. Saturday night, huge party with Flo Rida. And I'll tell you, George, from seeing so many Flo Rida shows recently, it's one of the best live shows I've seen in a long time. And one of the reasons why I added him and booked into this lineup for this weekend is you don't realize so many Flo Rida songs until you go to a show, and you literally know all the words to every song. And it is it's an hour to hour and 15 minute, just pure party, having a great time, singing, dancing. And that's going to be a great event on Saturday night. And then our iHeart Country stage for in our fan zone. It's nonstop music all day. Tons of artists, tons of big machine artists. Danielle Bradbury's on that stage. Megan Maroney's on that stage. Dylan Carmichael's on that stage. So a lot of up and comers. Megan Maroney just had her first number 1 hit. So, it's pretty cool to have an artist with a number 1 hit that's, on what some would call a B stage. For us, it's our fan zone stage, and just as important as our main stage. But, to have artists of that level on that stage throughout the day is awesome for us. It's going to be great for the fans.
Kelly, I'm convinced this guy has become the hardest working man in Nashville sports.
He's doing it. I know. I used to have a golf. I used to have a golf tournament that I had to do, and there were always things that came up. And I don't know about the George said the happiest 2 weeks where your adrenaline kick in, but you also hold your breath. And then once this thing's over with, you're like, oh, it's done. I'm sure you get into that. But what is the craziest thing that's happened up until this point, and then something that you don't want happen in the next 2 weeks?
Well, we haven't had a lot of craziness happen this year on the build, getting ready for the event. Everything, knock on wood, has gone as scheduled and been right on time. And I think our biggest fear right now, and one that, we hate to even say out loud, is if you look in turn 11 of the racetrack right now and in the front of Nissan Stadium, there's quite a large hole in the ground with a sewer pipe going in. So they're beginning to do some work for the new stadium construction. They're doing that in advance of breaking ground on the new stadium. And so quite a bit of work going on there. And our ops team is meeting with the Titans and meeting with their contractor that's doing the work on a daily basis. They're out there every morning. And so they've assured us they'll be done in time to get that big hole in the ground filled and patched and new asphalt down and it cured before we're racing cars on it in 17 days. So that's my biggest fear at this point from an operations standpoint. Other than that, nothing else, all the other things we can't control, such as Mother Nature. So we're just focused on keeping the schedule and making sure we get things done day by day.
And I just got to know this for myself because being an Indy fan and going to Indianapolis for 6 races, and then I'm thinking to myself, like, I know you got 3 days of races, but when do those guys actually? When do the guys on Sunday actually get on the track? I mean, they've got to qualify. Am I correct? Yep. So when do they get on the track and they're able to practice and to learn the racetrack? And when does that happen?
They'll be on track on Friday morning. So all the teams arrive in town on Wednesday, load in Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, get their cars get the pits set up, and then they hit the track on Friday. So we've got 3 days of racing, but part of that racing is practice and qualifying for all 5 of the racing series that we have here that weekend. And so the Indy guys hit the track a little after lunch on Friday.
Now, how many guys qualify for the race, Jason?
For IndyCar, it varies per race on how many entries they have, but we'll have we're scheduled to have 28 cars for the IndyCar race.
28 cars. Wow. Well, I know it's going to be exciting, man. That's all I've got. I know it's going to be exciting, and I know you're excited to get this thing. I know the 2 weeks, I don't know about the adrenaline coming like George said, but the 2 weeks is kind of like hold your breath, hope something doesn't happen. But I wish you luck, man. I think it's going to be a great deal.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great weekend. I look forward to having you guys out.
Hey, Jason, before we go, you've heard the commercial I've done. I've admitted on the air, I've never been to a Grand Prix. But I have heard over the last 2 years incredible feedback from people just like me who had never been, who have told me it's one of the coolest things they've ever seen. Kind of talk to some people out there like me who have not been before, and what it is going to absolutely blow their mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think just seeing the cars running 200 miles an hour on the streets of Nashville, the same streets that you're driving on day in, day out, into downtown, out of downtown, just seeing the pure excitement and the speed and the adrenaline that creates of seeing those cars race on the streets. And then you add all the other racing classes that we have and the other series that we have racing here in Nashville, stadium super trucks, 4-wheel drive trucks that are jumping, 40 or 50 feet in the air from ramp to ramp. And it's things you don't see, and most people have never seen unless they're going to one of these events. And so combine all of that with all the music and everything else we have going on, and it's quite a festival, and it's different from anything else that we have in Nashville and anything else that downtown has for sure. But IndyCar is just it's different. It's a different type of racing. Most people are used to NASCAR and seeing the beating and the banging and the cars driving around in circles, and this is completely different. I mean, these are open wheel cars. They're low to the ground. They're super fast, and they're racing around the streets of Nashville, long straightaways like the bridge over the Cumberland, on Korean Veterans, up into the tight turns and tight corners around downtown and around Nissan Stadium. So it's quite a scene to see, and something for everybody there on site, whether it's racing or music or food. I think that's what our goal has been from year one, and we continue into this third year is having something for everyone.
I can't wait. I am excited about it. Hey, do one thing for me. When you see Liz tomorrow, tell her I said thank you. I owe her huge.
I will do that. Absolutely. Thanks, George.
Sorry to cough all over you, Jason. Thank you. That's Jason Rittenberry. He is the president of the Music City Grand Prix. This man has worked his fanny off. This is going to be an amazing event. I can't wait for it. I am very excited. I've never been to one. About to learn some stuff.
Club RPM, right?
Yeah, you got it.
That'll be interesting.
After the break, we will get to the plaster bet of the day, but also a few thoughts on what's coming tomorrow when Tennessee hits the airwaves here at the Grand Hyatt. Stay tuned. We're back with more in a moment.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
As a lot of you know, our show is now more than a year old, and that's a great testimony to some of the viewership that we have had from you all. So a big thank you right there. If you're new to all of this and you're wondering, how do we see the show? Here's some of the ways. Of course, you can watch it live 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the three biggest ways are Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, if you're working or can't watch the show live, you know what? All this stuff is archived in podcast form through two different ways. Apple, Spotify, that's the way you do it. You can go Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you're probably sitting there saying, George, you don't know what any of these mean. Well, I'm learning. I can at least spit it out now. Hope that you will continue to enjoy our show, because as football season revs up, we've got some great things planned. Thanks for being with us.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at bairdifference.com.
So before we do Plaster Bet of the Day, I want to talk a little bit about what's going to go on tomorrow morning when Tennessee goes front and center stage. They are the school, obviously, that has had the NCAA problem. Josh Heupel is going to get absolutely drilled with questions about it. Kelly, let me start with you. How do you think he reacts to that?
I'm not sure how he reacts to it. He's obviously paying the price for it, but he had nothing to do with it. So that's kind of a tough spot to be in. I'm serious when I asked Tony Basilio the other day, like when they vacated those wins from years past, like 11 wins, like that. They're like, who cares? I don't understand why the NCAA does that. I'm sure he's going to get asked that stuff. I don't know how he'll react to it. I just think that he just kind of he talks about it and then he moves on from it. They've got what they've got, and they just got to move on from that. And he's got a really good football team. He's a really good young head coach that's got a lot of promising years left, hopefully, and he seems like a good recruiter, and I think he's done a really good job while he's there. He took over something that was not very good, and it hadn't been good for a while, and he even had a winning record his first year, and then last year going to the Orange Bowl and winning that game. I think the future looks bright for those guys, like it does the Nashville Predators. I really do, and don't know how to react, but it's unfortunate that he has to deal with it because he had nothing to do with it.
So I'm going to put this spin on this, and I want to see what both of y'all think. If I'm Heupel, I walk in that room tomorrow and tell that assembled group, and it's a huge one, ask everything you want today, because after today, I'm never talking about it anymore.
I think that's pretty good, George. Can you hold up to that? I think that's really good because it has nothing to do. It has everything to do with what went on in the past, and it's obviously going to hurt us a little bit in the future. But what we got going on now has nothing to do with that. So I think that's a good way to approach it. And there's a lot of, the old Bill Belichick. We're moving on to Cincinnati. I mean, that's really what it reminds me of.
Well, and Kelly, you mentioned paying the price. I don't know if how much is Heupel in this program really paying the price per se. I know the scholarship reductions, that's not ideal, but he's going to be really political, right? Because he's being told to be political, not to go viral, right? I don't think any coach comes to SEC media days wanting to go viral, right? Now it just might happen that way because of a reporter swinging a quote one way or the other, but he's going to be political. I mean, what can he say?
Well,
I mean, can he help their cause?
I just think that again, it's not like I'm some media trainer. I have enough problems on my own. But it seems to me that if he walks up there and says, I want to start with this, I know you all are going to ask 100 million questions about it, and you have every right to. It's an important issue. We've tried to deal with it. And we now have a resolution. Today, in front of this group, which will be the largest group I'll speak in front of media-wise for who knows how long, I'm going to answer anything and everything you want to put at me. And after today, we're never going there again. That's what I'd do.
And he shouldn't have to after tomorrow.
Oh, but come on. That kind of stuff never goes away.
It's kind of like a head coach. I've never been a head coach
dedicated to it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of like being a head coach though. When you have your first meeting with parents and things like that at the high school level, you need to walk in and you need to tell those parents, I have an open door policy, but the open door policy is this: if you have a problem with your son in school, or you're having behavioral problems or something of that nature, you can come talk to me. But if you want to ask me about calling plays or about playtime, I don't need to hear it. So save it. That's what needs to happen.
Did Boots do that?
He
might have.
Yeah, he probably did, but it was just kind of known. Coach Donnelly was kind of like the Nick Saban. When he walked in, everybody was quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And I remember the first thing he told us, and he was totally right on this. He said, I want you to look to the left, to the right, behind you, and in front of you, because more than likely, if you stayed for 4 years, the person next to you should not. And he was absolutely right.
Kelly, speaking of Coach Boots, how do you think he would have fared in a media day setting?
I would love to have been there.
I don't know. He would have had some cliches, and he would have had some quotes that absolutely. I don't think he shied away from the media. He's really good with that stuff. He could have gone viral, absolutely, because he would say some things sometimes that you're just like, oh, golly.
He might have also been beloved.
Probably.
Because he's really good at that.
He's really good at it, man. I've said it over and over. I've never heard a better speaker in my life than Coach Donnelly. He doesn't come to the event with a prepared speech. He'll sit there and he'll think about it as the night goes on, and then when he gets up there, I've never heard a better speaker in my life. Unbelievable.
We had a deal about a year ago where I spoke to the civic club that I belong to, the Downtown Kiwanis Club. And it was in the middle of CMAs, and downtown was a mess, and not a lot of people showed up. And so when I got up, I thought, I got to have some fun with this. I said, I'd like to welcome all of you to the smallest crowd in our club's history. I said, that's the bad news. I said, the good news is I know that those of you who are here are my true friends. And I want you to know that you will all be honorary pallbearers.
Pretty good.
Got to have a sense of humor.
That's a decent line.
So are we now under 500 in plaster bet of the day?
Well, let's see, Georgia.
Yeah.
I think you're right on that.
I'm afraid I'm right. And Kelly, that big grin on his face.
Last night you were confident. I think I remember at the end of the show you said we're going to be 2-1. Kelly.
Well,
yeah,
we're going to be 2-2.
Let's see. It's taken a while to pull this up.
Kelly, why is this taking so long?
I don't know. We've got commercials that are playing over and over. We've got we've got things happening in the background of the Butch Spyridon deal. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it's unbelievable.
George is the biggest needler.
Oh,
he just lobs it up every time.
Lob the softball to Kelly and let him hit it off the tee.
He is king of the softball.
My record sucks. 33%.
Yeah, you're also king of losing as of late.
You
Not good, George.
No. 1-2. So we're going to get to 2-2 by virtue of this. Let's see if this has a graphic. Hey, looky there. So I'm going to take the Mets minus
Willie
1.5.
Mets?
I am. Willie, by the way, was in Atlanta last night.
For the most runs ever scored in a Major League Baseball game.
True. No, that's not true.
I thought I heard that.
No.
16-13?
No.
What was the stat?
No, there was a 23-22 years ago, Cubs Phillies at Wrigley.
I saw
last
some
night was
stat.
part of there were more double-digit games than in the history of Major League Baseball. There were like 3 different 11-10s. There was a 16-13. It was nuts. If you bet over last night and you didn't win, you picked the wrong game. So we're going Mets minus 1.5. Former Brave Touki Toussaint, who the Braves got rid of, will start tonight for the White Sox. I think he gets obliterated. Thus, I'm going with the Mets.
Let's
probably
go Mets. Right.
Yeah, let's go Mets. Kelly, we've had good coverage so far through 3 days. Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. We've had good folks on. Unbelievable that you can do that, but I marvel at the things you can do sometimes, George. It's really upsetting to me, and I sit up and think about it at nighttime. I'm like, this dude knows everybody.
I'm sorry that put you in so much pain. Listen,
you really do. I mean, it really bothers me.
Try to clean up your attitude before tomorrow.
I'm trying.
See you then, Kelly.
See y'all.
Billy?
George?
You just need to learn how to behave.
Pipe down a little bit.
See you tomorrow.
See ya.
See all of you tomorrow for the fourth and final day of SEC Media Days. We'll have more SEC notes packages. Butch and Jack, man, they've done a terrific job. I'm proud of those two. These are 2 young guys trying to get into the business, and they have really done very well with this. We'll see you tomorrow.